Ever feel like you're being pulled in a dozen different directions at once? Like you're interested in everything? Well, if that's you, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into a career strategy built just for people like us.
You know, we hear it all the time. You've got to have grit. You've got to stick with it. But what if that's not your problem? What if your issue is the exact opposite? Your challenge isn't a lack of passion, it's that you have too many passions you desperately want to pursue. You see all these incredible paths, and you're not afraid of the work. You're just completely paralyzed by the choice. Does this hit close to home? I could do anything if I only knew what it was. This single sentence, man, it just perfectly captures that feeling, right? All this potential, all this energy, but you're stuck in neutral because picking just one thing for the rest of your life feels impossible.
Well, there's a name for this. It's called the scanner's dilemma. And let's just get this out of the way right now. Your intense, wide-ranging curiosity is not a flaw. It's not a professional liability. It's actually your hidden superpower.
Society has a word for people like us, and let's be honest, it's not usually a compliment. Dilettante. You know the phrase, a jack of all trades, but a master of none. And that label, it causes so much anxiety. It makes you feel like your greatest gift is also your biggest weakness. Well, today, we are going to absolutely dismantle that idea.
So let's start with a big idea. What if the problem isn't you at all? What if the problem is that you've been trying to play by an old set of career rules for a world that just doesn't exist anymore? Because the truth is, the fundamental rules of work have changed.
Think about it like this. For most of the last century, the professional world was a kind environment. It was like golf. The rules were stable, you got immediate feedback on your shot, and the way to win was to specialize, to repeat one perfect swing over and over. But today, we live in a wicked environment. It's way more like being a firefighter. The rules are constantly changing, every situation is new, and success comes from recognizing patterns and adapting on the fly.
So, to really thrive in this wicked new world, we have to change how we think. We need to move beyond job titles and start thinking about the actual shape of our career. First up, you've got the I-shaped professional. This is the classic specialist, the expert who goes a mile deep in one very narrow field. These were the rock stars of that old, kind environment.
Then you have the opposite, the dash-shaped person, a mile wide but only an inch deep. And this, well, this is the trap many of us scanners fall into. We know a little bit about everything, but we don't feel like we have a solid foundation in anything. And that lack of depth is exactly where that constant anxiety comes from. But here's the good news. There is another shape. And this is the game changer for scanners. It's the M-shaped professional, the polymath. This isn't about knowing a little about everything. Oh no. It's about building deep, solid pillars of expertise in 2 or even 3 distinct fields, and then building the bridge that connects them.
Okay, let's make this real. Imagine your first pillar is data science. You go deep. You really learn your stuff. But then, your second pillar is storytelling. You go deep there, too. And that horizontal bar connecting them, that's all your other interests: psychology, history, design. Suddenly, you're not just some data scientist. You are the rare individual who can take a complex spreadsheet and turn it into a compelling story that a CEO can actually understand and act on. That combination is incredibly rare and incredibly valuable.
So what makes this M shape so powerful in our messy, wicked world? It all comes down to a cognitive superpower called far transfer. Here's the difference. A specialist, our I-shaped friend, uses near transfer. They apply a skill to a problem that looks a lot like the last one, but a polymath uses far transfer. They have this amazing ability to see the underlying pattern or structure in one field and apply it to solve a problem in a completely different one.
For instance, a biologist who understands how tree roots branch out might look at a messy company database and see a revolutionary new way to organize it. Or a musician who gets the principles of harmony might look at a jumble of software code and see a more elegant, beautiful way to structure it. It's like they can see the matrix.
This is a huge shift in perspective. All of your so-called random interests, they aren't distractions. They're a library of metaphors, a toolkit of mental models that you can pull from to create breakthrough insights that a specialist would never see.
Okay, so this M-shaped polymath thing sounds pretty amazing in theory, but how do you actually build a life like that? Let's get into the practical, step-by-step strategy.
It really boils down to 3 core ideas. First, serial mastery. Second, thinking about your job strategically. And third, building an external brain for all your ideas. Serial mastery is absolutely crucial.
You can't build all the pillars at once. That just leads you right back to being dash-shaped. Instead, you pick one pillar and you commit to it for a season, say 6 to 18 months. You pour all your focus into it until you hit about 80% fluency. You don't need to be the world's #1 expert, but you need to be competent and confident.
And here's the key. Once you've built that pillar, you make a conscious choice to move on. This is not quitting because things got hard. This is strategic quitting. Think of it as graduating. You are deliberately and strategically choosing to start building your next pillar.
Strategy number 2 is all about your day job. Most people hunt for a high-passion job that ends up being a high-stress cage that sucks up all their energy. The Polymath strategy is different. You find a stable, good enough job that acts as a platform. It gives you security, and more importantly, it leaves you with a surplus of mental and creative energy to build your real pillars on the side.
And the final piece of the puzzle is building an external system. A scanner's brain is an idea-generating machine, right? It creates way more than it can possibly hold. Your working memory is like a tiny workbench. If it's cluttered with half-finished projects, you've got no room to start something new.
Remember this phrase, your mind is for having ideas, not for holding them. So use a simple tool. It could be Notion, Obsidian, even just a notebook to capture everything. When you get obsessed with something for a week, jot down your notes and throw them in the system. This frees you to let it go without guilt because you know the system is holding on to the dots for you. And who knows, 5 years from now, you might connect those dots in a way you can't even imagine today.
So let's bring it all home. Your path forward is clear. First, embrace this new identity as a potential polymath. Second, pick your first pillar and give it real focus. Third, use your job as a stable platform, not an all-consuming cage. And finally, build a system to capture your incredible, endless curiosity.
And I want to leave you with this one last thought. You're not a dilettante who lacks focus. You're a scanner whose brain is literally designed to be a bridge between different worlds. Maybe, just maybe, you were never meant to master just one thing. Maybe you were meant to be the one who could finally see how everything connects.